Well. Hello, fellow audience. Welcome. My name is Thomas Robinette. I'm going to do a quick video about what I watched this month, August 2025. Let's get into it. First, I watched Black Bag. This was a way better watch on the second time, knowing exactly where it was going. I really dug the road getting there. It's not the type of spy movie with sneaking around in ventilation shafts, scaling tall buildings, kind of like what you'd see in a Mission Impossible movie, but rather about bureaucrats that get a bit horny and jealous sometimes. Next, I watched Hard Truths. I haven't seen too many of Mike Leigh's movies, but I very much admire his unique approach to filmmaking and bringing everyone into the creative process from the beginning. There's very little plot, and we merely see these people exist in different situations. A great exploration into why this woman is frustrated and angry with the world. Next, I saw Supersonic. Oasis is back, baby. Crazy that their stretch only lasted 3 years, yet they became such icons. Love the editing and archival footage, but it had long stretches of just photos and voiceover that was a bit much, but the funny stories and good tunes made up for the journey. Next, I saw Out of Sight. This movie is like if Heat's Al Pacino and Robert De Niro boned in that coffee shop, if you know what I mean. The vibes in this movie are amazing and the characters even more great. It's a masterful work and a total predecessor to Ocean's 11. This should be more in the conversation. Next, I saw Here. This movie is bonkers. I watched about 20 minutes of this and I had to turn it off because it was so mind-numbingly cringy that I couldn't take it anymore. Even though it takes place in one spot, I feel yanked all over the place and not allowed to sit in one spot. Even though that is the conceit of the movie. It would have worked better but less commercial if it was a more durational experience rather than actively fighting against its premise throughout the movie. Next, I saw Cloud. I'm glad I saw Kier and Pulse before this one because Kurosawa has a very slow and particular mode of filmmaking where it's easy to fall off if you're not paying attention close. The motivations of characters are strange and don't make much sense to me. I'm still compelled by the storytelling and action. I won't even call it action in a traditional sense because it feels more like violence. It's not fun or cathartic, but it's stark and deeply disturbing. The ending made me think of the classic Schrader quote that the movie doesn't start until the credits roll. Next, I saw Shifty. This is made by the BBC and recommended to me by my guy Ari Aster, who's on his Eddington tour. It's a 5-part documentary about the UK from the 70s to the turn of the century, about everything from politics to economics to art to people to animals and everything in between. The juxtaposition of images and ideas through editing is very thoughtful and many times quite funny. This documentary successfully creates a schema for not only what to think, but all ideas that were present in this time and place. We see a paradigm shift in every aspect of life, and many of these ideas and problems are still around today. Once again, things are getting a bit shifty. Next, I saw The Naked Gun, the new one. It's so nice to go into a theater and just laugh with everyone. Every single line is a joke or is set up to the next joke, and they all hit. This was a W for me, and if you like to laugh, this is what you're looking for. Next, I saw Ran on the big screen. It felt like the show Succession and Shogun times, probably because they were both based off of Shakespeare's King Lear. What a visually vibrant and epic experience on the big screen. The big green hills and the epic battle scenes, as well as the more intimate moments of power moves and betrayal. I had a few nits to pick here and there, but overall it was a real fun and epic time. Next, I saw The Materialists. This makes dating in your 30s look like a hellish wasteland. Dakota Johnson and Chris Evans do better than they usually do, but this movie felt too straightforward and a bit too moralistic to say anything profound like her previous work, Past Lives. At least it was better than a lot of other modern romances. Next up, I watched The Mighty Aphrodite. I know what you're thinking, and yes, it's a Woody Allen movie. I don't condone anything he's done, but these are some very funny movies with great performances by other actors. I was very skeptical about the Greek choruses of fate, but it ended up being one of the smartest and most unique things about the movie. The ending was perfect and every scene added to the whole. Next, I saw So I Married an Axe Murderer. This is a totally goofy 90s romp. Mike Myers is funny, but he's a bit too much for this movie. He's always goofing, which is fun, but I don't know if it really worked in making him a believable person. I could have used some more axe murdering maybe. The title is such a hard spoiler, but then you realize that it's just a big misdirect and there won't be any axe murdering to see. Next, I saw the new movie Together. This is not one to see alone, but with somebody you love. A spooky movie with about 8 limbs go in every direction. The performances were good. Franco was a bit overly comedic. I guess comedy and horror play well together. Alison Brie was great too, and it's fun knowing that they're both married for real. Be prepared for some body horror. Next, I saw Jackie Brown. Here we go. This is Tarantino's most quiet and stripped down flick, but I'd argue one of his best. You get a real feeling of these characters and the area that they live in. Pam Grier's amazing inside out acting and really conveys everything you need to know by a simple gesture or a look. Next I saw Love and Death, a romp about Russia during Napoleon's invasion way back when. This is just as much a spoof as it is an homage to Ingmar Bergman movies, filled with references, most notably the depiction of death from The Seventh Seal. I loved whenever they talked about murder, they went straight into philosophy talk, into moral imperatives and absolute truth. Next I saw Weapons. Marketing was done right and only giving the premise that is revealed in the first minute. It feels in the same vein as Barbarian, told through many perspectives as well as about an ugly, evil old lady. I thought there would be more weapons in the movie given its name, but I can't complain seeing what the weapons actually were. I love Josh Brolin, and the dude next to me kept calling him Thanos throughout the movie, which he's not really wrong about. This absolutely delivered, and I'll be there for whatever Krager has next in store. Next I saw Alien. There's no exposition, no fluff, just space truckers doing their job and us as an audience right beside them until the shit goes down. Every time I see this, I'm always yelling at the screen when Hurt goes out and checks that egg. This is back to front, a real fun movie. Even though it's a slow burn, it's a great time. Next I saw The Naked Gun again. It was just as funny as the first time and I don't really have much to add. Next I saw Clown in a Cornfield. This was a surprisingly strong slasher flick. The opening scene is directly pulled from Jaws, except a cornfield and a clown rather than a beach and a shark. There are some but not many gags about clowns. They mostly just wield chainsaws and don't do any jokes or dances, no hankies or spray bottles. It had me missing Art the Clown a bit, but it's a fun watch and it's fun to goof on, but it's pretty straightforward and predictable. Next I saw Trainwreck Storm Area 51. What a stupid documentary. This is the definition of second screening content. I ended up skipping through most of it and I didn't feel like I missed really anything. It seemed like they had a fun time to throw a concert. It's a waste of the doc, and like all the other train wreck documentaries on Netflix, it feels like a wiki page about an event gone wrong. Here we go. Next one I saw Brute Force. In the early mornings when I can't get back to sleep, I like to throw on a sleepy old noir, and this turned out to be a certified banger. The Warden's hand, who reminded me of Hans from Inglourious Basterds, in the way that he throws around power and acts like a sophisticate. This was made back in the 40s, but the moral qualms about the prison industrial complex was surprisingly modern. This was a surprisingly nihilistic movie that made me gasp a few times at the twists and reveals. It really does deserve the name Brute Force. Next I saw The Sandpiper, a smartly written romance that wasn't only ahead of its time, but it's a bit ahead of now. Deals with topics like abortion, single parenting, questioning religion, questioning any authority and laws, and grander philosophies about life. Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton are amazing actors, and it's super fun to see this while I'm listening to the TCM Film podcast, The Plot Thickens, which is about Cleopatra, a movie that they made a few years prior. The cheating and sneaking around really mirrored what was going on behind the scenes with their reality. I didn't expect to like this so much, but as far as romances are concerned, this one was a banger. Next, I watched Rosemary's Baby. This is one of the craziest gaslighting movies there is. There's a breakdown of the familial core, and we see that through the walls put up through the marriage, as well as the physical transformation of Rosemary. There's a Faustian vibe to the movie of hand-altering fate, and if it were made today, it would have spawned a whole franchise and maybe even a TV show. I feel like the question that this movie leaves us with are best unanswered, and the possibilities for what comes next is up to you. Next, I saw Stardust Memories. This was not my favorite Woody Allen movie. It was not as funny as the others, and it felt stuck in homage and ripped from Fellini's 8.5. I mostly felt my attention dragging and definitely style over substance. I can't believe I've never seen this one, but next I saw Black Swan in IMAX. This is most comparable to Whiplash in that it's a compelling thriller about an obsessed performer. There are a lot of great spooky elements, like the double shadow self, an unreliable protagonist, incredibly shot dance sequences. You have to fully appreciate the spectacle and precision of the dancing and how the camera moves along with it as well. This is the type of movie that I love, with a perfect runtime and no fat on the bone in more ways than one. Next I saw F1. This is if Dad Rock was a movie. I can't believe it took me so long to watch this, but it's back in IMAX and here we are with my second chance. Brad Pitt is as cool as ever, and damn do those cars go fast. And those camera angles are ridiculously fun and immersive. This makes me want to watch some F1 for real. Next I saw Hellraiser. It was a total spooky vibe. It was much more well told than any other slasher at the time, with a lot of good twists and turns along the way. Much like an extension of a 70s grindhouse movies in vibe and aesthetic as well as acting. The story was juicy with lots of mystery and lore. This was a fun watch, but I do want to know more about this Nightmare Blunt rotation. Next I watched Honey Don't, which is more like Honey You Shouldn't Have. This newest effort by the Coen brother. I don't know why he's so interested in lesbians all of a sudden. Not that there's a problem with that, but this is his second flop in a row in this tone and subject. Next I watched Ghost in the Shell. This follows Major, who's a cyborg cop trying to find a hacker named the Puppet Master. There's some heavy philosophical themes of what it means to be human, coming to the conclusion that it is our thoughts and memories combined, along with our personality, that is our humanity, and implanted fake memories call to question the identity of who we are. Next I saw Burst City. This is known as one of the first cyberpunk movies, but I'd say it's more punk than cyber. There are many scenes that feel like music videos, and between we get a lot of vibes. Expression is shown through punk makeup, dress, and hair. Violence breaks out anytime as angst against the system, and no matter what the band plays on. Next I saw Upgrade. This is like the death wish of cyberpunk. There's not really any philosophical quandaries or big questions. It's just a badass action movie. The main character's wife is killed by a ruthless gang, and he himself becomes paralyzed. He gets cybernetic enhancements to help him move his body and even fight, and he hunts down the whole gang one by one. It's a fun revenge flick, but not in terms of philosophical depth. And there's also Cybertrucks in the movie. Is that where they're from? They look just as ugly. Next I rewatched The Matrix. This is classic for a reason. I'm brought back to the first time I saw this, waking up in a pod sequence with the orange goo and the nodes and wires coming from his hairless body. Watching this close to Ghost in the Shell, I thought about how much these movies were stylistically similar, but yet have opposite messages about memories and identity. I totally see how people could criticize this as an anecdote for conspiracy theorists and people trying to dismantle society, but damn, this movie is fun. Finally, this month I saw The Killing of a Chinese Bookie. Cosmo is a strip club owner who puts way more effort into his show than anyone cares to notice. The show is pretty abysmal, with comedy bits that don't land and the worst singing, and an audience that just came to see boobs. Through the movie, the ground gets a bit unstable for him, but he's the last one to admit that it's collapsing. I always think of the line at the end where he tells one of the stripper's moms that she's always been like a mother to him. She responds telling him that he can't live with a bullet inside of him, and then throwing him out. So this is what I watched this month. Tell me what you've been watching, and maybe we could watch something together. I'll see you soon with more videos.